For the handles, we are going to pick up stitches all along the bound off edges of our top triangles. We're going to pick up 13 stitches per triangle. So triangle is close to where we start all the way to the end. We want to pick them up evenly, and we're going to pick them up with the right side facing. So again, you just go in and then pick up a stitch. It may take you a little time to figure out how to get 13 across evenly. So you can take them out again, and you can count your first stitch, the first loop that you have on there, as 1. So then pick up 12 for this section, then 13 for the next section. Once you get all the stitches picked up, we are going to put a marker to mark the beginning of our round, and then we're going to knit for 8 rows. And then I'll show you how we're going to make the handles. Okay, I have picked up my stitches, and I'm all ready to start working my knitting rows. So I'm going to place a stitch marker on the right hand needle that signifies the end of my row, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to knit straight without turning for 8 rows, and that'll give me 8 stockinette rows. And I will come back to you and show you how we're going to cast off and then cast on for the handles. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've done my stockinette rows, and I've knitted the first section of stitches. You will be knitting 17. Since I'm making a smaller one, I just knit 13. So now we're going to start our casting off for the handle openings. You will be casting off 18 stitches. I'm just going to cast off 13. So I'll show you the way that we count. We have our number of stitches over here that we've already knit. That stitch count's not going to change. So we're going to knit 1, and then we're going to knit a second one, and then we're going to hop the first one over, and that's going to be 1. We knit another one and hop over, and that'll be 2. Knit, hop for 3, and then 4, 5, and you don't want to make this super tight, just keep an even tension. So it's knit 1 and then hop over, and then that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. You will be going on to 18. Since mine is smaller, I'm just going to do 13. Okay, and then I'm going to knit the next amount of stitches. You'll be knitting 34. I'm going to go ahead and knit my stitches and then come back to you to bind off one more time. Okay, so I knit my middle stitches, and I'm going to do my second casting off. So again, we knit 1, knit a second one, hop the first one over, and that counts as 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and my last one for 13. You're going to continue going till 18. Now, if you don't remember how many casted off, you're going to count these guys. So you would just count your little V's right over here. You can count the roping. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. And then the one that's attached is your last one. So that would be 13. So that's how you would count if you want to figure out. So we're going to go ahead and finish out the row and then work the next part of the next row until we get up to the cast on edge, and I'm going to show you how we're going to cast on stitches again. Okay, so we're at the part where we're going to cast on. I like to do a cable cast on because it gives it a little bit more strength and it gives it a decorative edge. So what you're going to do is you're actually going to flip the work around so that we have the inside or the wrong side facing us. So we hop around this way, okay? And then what we're going to do, all our stitches are in our left hand, our empty needle's in our right. The right hand needle is going to go between these two stitches. So it's completely between the stitches. We wrap around as if we're knitting. We bring it under. We're going to make the stitches go parallel. And then our left hand needle is going to go on top of the thread and then underneath it. And we take our right hand needle out. And before we tighten it, I like to put my right hand needle back in. So that way it's loose enough for my needle to get in. And then we wrap around again. We bring it through. Needles go parallel. Left hand needle goes in. And then we wrap around again. And you'll be casting on 22 stitches. If you find this too difficult for you, what you can do is you can do a knit cast on. So the knit cast on is you go into the first stitches if you're knitting and then do everything the same. Wrap around, bring it through, but don't take it off the left hand needle. Make the stitches go, the needles go parallel, and then the left hand needle goes back in here. So I'll show you that again. So you go in, wrap around, through, parallel, and left hand needle goes in. So it's basically the same, except instead of going between the stitches, you'd be going into one of the stitches. It doesn't give you as decorative an edge, but it is a little easier to get the hang of. So I'm going to reach you once I have casted on my stitches, and I'm going to show you how we'll continue knitting. Okay, so I have all my stitches casted on. I'm going to flip around to the right side of the work again. I'm going to make sure my cast on that I just did is all pointing down because I don't want to twist it. So all the bumps are on the bottom. And then I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to knit the next stitch, which we're joining now. What I like to do is when I knit it, I'm going to make sure I kind of pull it tight. And then you're just going to keep knitting until you get to the next edge where you're going to have to do your cast on again. Okay, I'm back to the next part where I cast it off. So again, I'm going to turn my work so the back side's facing me, and I'm going to cast on my stitches. So again, I'm going to go between the two stitches, wrap around, bring it through. Needles are parallel, and then it goes on to the left hand needle. You can see I'm kind of keeping the left hand needle straight, and the right hand needle I pivot, and then I'll put the left hand needle back into it. So it takes a while to get the motions, but this is pretty much what we're going to do, and it gives you a nice edge that you'll see. So the cast on will be tidy, and I will get back to you once I have casted on all the stitches. Okay, I casted on my last stitch. I'm going to turn my work again so that the front is facing me. I'm going to make sure that my cast on is all pointed in the right direction. You don't want it to be twisted at all, because if it's twisted, it's going to stay twisted. You won't be able to undo that in your work at all without ripping your work out. So make sure it's not twisted. And then we're going to go ahead and join again. Just put the stitches back on the needle. And again, for this first stitch, I just like to make sure that it's a little bit tight. And then I'm going to continue knitting for the rest of my row. After this, you're going to work 10 more rows in stockinette, where you just knit every single row. And then you're going to bind off loosely, just like we did for the bottom of the handle. So you'll knit one, knit a second one, hop the first one over. And then you will have a finished bag.